This morning, I'm joined by political editor for The Eye, Caroline Wheeler, and associate editor and columnist at the Financial Times, Stephen Bush. So welcome to both of you. We're going to kick off talking about, guess what, the local elections, extraordinary set of results. Stephen, you pulled out the FT's front page, which does a sort of overview of the results, with the headline, Starmer defies MP's call to quit as reform deals shattering blow.
Yes, so it, as everyone will know, the Labour Party has suffered truly abysmal results. It's the worst performance, but no governing party has done this badly and gone on to be re-elected. Shattering results too for the Conservatives, who this was the second worst ever performance by an opposition party, second only to the Conservatives last year. But yeah, Starmer, we have this slightly weird situation where Starmer's saying he takes responsibility, but he doesn't appear to. It's not really clear what that means. Usually, when you take responsibility, mostly in politics, that means you resign or you say you're going to change something. He seems to be saying he takes responsibility, but nothing's going to change. And on the Conservative side, you have Kemi Badenoch wandering around like she's won. So it's a slightly strange moment in British politics where they're kind of both like Roadrunner, right, where he's ran off the cliff and then doesn't seem to realise that there's nothing underneath him.
Well, yeah, I mean, he was saying yesterday several times, I will not walk away. He's made it really clear he doesn't intend to go anywhere, and we can talk a little bit about the pressure on him in a moment. But he did say that, he seemed to say that one of the problems was communicating what they'd done, that they hadn't got the message, and they got it that people felt frustrated. But do you think we're going to see steps in the next few days setting out some kind of plan for change?
Well, I think there are going to be sort of two questions over the next couple of days. One is going to be obviously about personnel, and we're already seeing some of those calls for him to resign happening with MPs sort of joining that sort of rallying cry.
We'll bring in the Daily Mail as you say that, because that's their front page. Starmer told it's time to go.
But we're also going to see a kind of real sort of set of soul-searching around the policies and whether or not this government has actually found its voice. And, if I had a pound for the number of times I think we've all said this, that the government really struggles to communicate its message, that it doesn't seem to have a story. But this is a government now that has been in power for the best part of 2 years. It does seem that one can only keep blaming your communications chiefs for so much of the failings of this government. And, of course, we've seen many of those communication chiefs walk out the door. So I think he's got a real test now, which is whether the speech which we're expecting to see on Monday is actually going to do enough to bring along those MPs and to stop those calls for him to go. And, sometimes the thing that kind of strikes in my heart is when you hear that one of the solutions that they think to growth, for example, is looking at regulatory reform, and you just kind of roll your eyes and sigh, because I think the scale of these defeats here means that he is going to have to be really bold, I think, in sort of communicating to people what he's about and what his government's about. And if he hasn't done that already, this is last chance saloon.
Yeah, how much do we know, Stephen, about what is going to be announced, and what will it take to turn this around for Labour?
So we know that they are looking at both some regulatory reforms, some stuff, which obviously we at the FT are interested in, but it's not the kind of stuff which is going to move the minds of Labour MPs. So there's also some more kind of left-friendly stuff. But look, the big picture is there is actually nothing that Keir Starmer at this point can do to turn around his position. I think anyone who travelled the country covering this election sort of knows, and if Keir Starmer were to, cure cancer, destroy the Islamic State, and then, give David Attenborough the elixir of youth, he still would be incredibly unpopular.
So it's a personal thing against him.
It's a personal thing against him, and also for his MPs. Ultimately, when you're in a bad position in politics, in the middle of a parliament, if you trust the boss's judgment, that's fine, right? Because we've seen many governments have that. I think most Tory governments, when we think about they have that U-bend, right? That sort of deep unpopularity David Cameron had in 2012 before he came back to win in 2015. Margaret Thatcher, all of her elections, she had very popular at the point of the election, quite difficult times in the middle of the parliament, but she came back to win. But that's because they had a clear plan where they went, look, here's why we're going to turn this around. Nobody in the Labour Party thinks that Keir Starmer has a clear policy-led plan to get them from where they are to win.
So in which case, we've had 20 MPs coming out, around 20 MPs coming out to call for him to go. Why not more then, if there is this sort of consensus that Keir Starmer shouldn't be leading them into the next election?
Well, I think it's really difficult because there isn't a candidate that everybody can agree to replace him. And I think that the fundamentals of that have been the same for the last sort of 6 months to a year, that people are really frustrated with his leadership. I mean, I have to say, when we have private conversations with MPs, when we have coffees in the House of Parliament, you know, there aren't many MPs that are jumping up and down to say, actually, you've got it wrong, he's absolutely brilliant, you know, we've just got to give this time and it's all going to come good in the end. You know, most MPs do think that there is a problem with Sir Keir Starmer, that he's not cutting through with the public, but they are nervous about sort of throwing the dice and getting a leader that they hadn't predicted, given that, you know, we can already see that there isn't a soft left candidate that kind of unites everybody, apart from potentially Andy Burnham. And that's what we're seeing on the front page of the Daily Mail today, them saying that it's time for Starmer to go, and a suggestion that Andy Burnham, which is what I've been writing for the last couple of days for the Eye, is ready to go, that he does seem to be suggesting that he has found a seat. But there are a lot of caveats to that, because even if he has found a seat and found an MP that's maybe willing to stand aside for him, that's not the end of the story, because he still has to get permissions to stand, he still has to get the endorsement of the NEC to get on that candidates list. And from what I hear, Sir Keir Starmer has told allies that basically it's over his dead body that he will let Andy Burnham back into Westminster. After all, why would you let your greatest rival in if you have the power to stop them, if it's going to torpedo your leadership?
Yeah. So we'll watch that one with interest. Let's just quickly, we've only got about a minute and a half, Stephen, but let's just reflect on the fact that it's the reform that the main beneficiary of Labour's woes. The Eye, Farage plots path to number 10. I mean, does that look like the direction we're heading in?
Yeah, if the election was tomorrow, Reform would win it. The flip side of that is he's very polarising. We saw in this election that the left and centre vote was badly split. And it's possible, if Farage does not make the right decisions, that he will find, as we've seen many, many opposition parties win in local elections and then lose at the general election. And by historic terms, his lead in the projected national vote is not at the level you'd say required escape velocity. But given how unpopular the Labour government is, and also given the international situation and how that's likely to make all of us significantly poorer, you would have to say it's massive advantage for Farage right now.
I mean, it's a huge... Let's take a quick look at the Express, only about 30 seconds or so, but, I mean, it's an extraordinary result for a relatively new party.
It's absolutely extraordinary. If you'd have thought this at the time of the last general election, with Labour winning that, as they call it, the Loveless landslide, you would never have predicted that this would happen within such a short space of time. And it does kind of demonstrate how quickly politics moves at the moment.
Yeah. Oh, so much to talk about. We haven't even scratched the surface of the politics story, and lots of other stories in the newspapers as well. So I'm very happy to say you'll be back next there and the one after that. So thanks very much indeed for the moment. Stay with us, though. We've got all the top stories coming your way next.
We're trying to see as much